Being Your Best You with Dr. Keir.
I'm exceptional, thank you. How are you today?
I'm so good.
Blocks to bold, brass to gold, better to best. We all get caught in mental mazes, believing that we have to live the way others see us, or being taught to think things through. Dr. Keir is an agent of change using Geotran human programming and activations to quickly and easily release people from the automatic patterns and inner glitches that block their healthy, wealthy, happy life. Instead of going where our innate circuitry takes us. Being in alignment with you is the best way to create your best life. Are you ready to be your best self? Being Your Best You with Dr. Keir. Welcome to the show.
Hey, this is Dr. Keir again. So happy that you could join us. And we are going to do something really quite exciting today, in the sense that we have an exciting topic to talk about. And we thought about putting it off. We did. But the topic is procrastination, so we're not allowed to. Anyway, we have had a request for this conversation, for this discussion, for this view on what Geotran can do and what hypnotherapy can do to release you from procrastination. So if you're one of those people, this is the show for you.
Yes.
So I'm Dr. Keir. I'm the director of Geotran Global. I have 26 years experience of releasing incorrect patterns and habits and reinstalling the programs in your inner computers for you to just have a happy, healthy, wealthy, successful, satisfying, and on a good day, peace-filled life. And here is I always get my hands the wrong way around. Here's my partner in crime. Here's my colleague.
Partner in crime's a good description.
Dr. Kevin Richardson, who is a clinical hypnotherapist with heaps of experience. Yeah. Dr. Keir, Dr. Kevin, between us, we are a paradox.
Paradox.
So let's just not put it off. Let us jump right in.
Oh my gosh. My favorite topic. And the one I get asked most about is procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
And people put things off for a variety of reasons. But when you really dig into it and you kind of deep dive what's behind the procrastination, that's where it gets to be interesting. And that's where we get to go on various trails and explore a variety of different things with the client. So procrastination may not be just putting something off.
It's why are you putting it off? Now, we don't ask questions in my world, so I'm going to phrase that differently, which is, what is the benefit to you? Now, it may be a distorted benefit. Yeah, it may just be your lower personality persuading you.
Yes.
Most often, at least in my world, most often it's because on some level you don't feel worthy of the gain or the benefit or the blessing that you would be creating and aligning with if you just did it, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you could be putting it off for a variety of reasons. Now, in the workplace, procrastination can be you don't have enough information on how to do it.
Okay.
Or you don't feel as though you have the technical skill or the knowledge.
Ooh, another not enough reason.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough. And maybe it's being viewed as being too difficult and too large of a project.
So still you're not enough. You are not big enough to...
Not enough. all varieties of not enough.
Yeah.
But also self-confidence and self-esteem come in there
Like another variety of not enough,
of not enough.
not good enough, not worth
I
enough.
don't, not. Just a lot of knots. Ugh! And with hypnotherapy, it just does such a good job, because what we're doing is that working with creating the enoughs and releasing the enoughs. The enoughs are there.
Oh, yes. Everyone is
They're
called
there.
for whatever God has called them to do.
Yeah. You have the skill. Maybe you just need a little extra oomph in the ego and a little more oomph in the self-confidence and the self-esteem. So in hypnotherapy, we're able to do that. In geotrends, you can even do it quicker.
I know. It's like therapy is the TGV, the high-speed train, but oh man, Geotran is the private plane.
Yes. Yes. Hypnotherapy goes quick, but oh my gosh, geotrain goes much quicker.
And then we put them together.
Yes. Then we've got a really good plan of attack, so to speak. So, and I think all of us deal with procrastination on one level or another.
Yes.
And there's just certain things we just don't like to do.
Yes.
And so we don't like to do it. So we don't want to do it. So there.
So we
Get
find
over it.
we find a reason.
We find reasons
to do it.
For not doing it.
Yeah. Very true.
You know, it's interesting to see as we develop and as we grow, what do we procrastinate with? Well, when we're in school, I famously put off the term papers until the very last minute.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. And some of that was I really didn't know how to organize a term paper.
See, I'm really good with deadlines. So kind of what you're saying. Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, I've got to come up with something by the time we do this taping, right? Okay. Yeah. I've got to finish this book before I go back to the US. So I wrote my last book when I was in France, and now I'm about to go to France again, and I'll be writing my next book in the 8 weeks that I have. And, and I know I'll basically be writing it in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I will say in my favor that when I was doing my doctorate, for which the program allowed 7 years, I don't have an attention span of 7 years. I'm sorry. I did it in 17 months.
Yes.
Including a 300-page dissertation.
Wow.
And I got a distinction.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that was partly because I had a broken leg and there was basically nothing much I could do. So boredom can be something
you can work in your favor. Yeah, it can work in your favor. So it was
different circumstances, obviously.
But it's also something that you were interested in.
Oh yeah.
And usually with dissertations, you pick a topic that you just really want to explore.
Yeah.
And you really want to dig into.
It's true.
So I found the higher I went up in my scholastic learning, the more in tune I was. And I was able to meet and exceed all of the deadlines.
Exactly. But let's get back into. I mean, those are special circumstances,
right?
I'm really interested that we were actually having a similar experience there. But let's look at common, everyday, ordinary. I'm just putting it off because I'm not interested, or I feel like I don't have enough knowledge, or I don't.
I don't want to do it.
I don't know how to do it, or I don't know. It's almost like the end result is a little too much for me to just receive.
Well, and sometimes we just don't understand what the result is going to be by doing that task. And maybe we're looking at that task as, why is that important? That's not important to me. So why are you having me do this task? And I found in
Yeah,
teaching and training,
right.
having students that were, well, I don't see the value of that. I don't see why I need to do that. So what I did is, in my teaching, was to show them the reason for the task, and that the reason was a very specific for an outcome that was going to be to their benefit.
I do get, actually, when you put it that way, which is a very useful, very clarifying distinction. I do get that with some of my clients, because I let's say we get them to a certain place, like we get them to be 100% who they are. We get them out of some area of stuckness. We are solving some specific
Mhm.
problem. And then I'll say, okay, now what I'm hearing is that you need 1, 2, 3 changes, right? Or here's a piece of homework. Now, the most common piece of homework I give out is to set up how many times a day, how many times per week, and for how many minutes at a time they are to have fun. And they look at me and they go, what? I say, now listen, 2 things. 1, you're taking all this way too seriously. Yeah, fun and laughter. We need some fun and laughter in here. Okay, you need to start feeling good about yourself and start
Mhm.
feeling good about your life. The easiest way to do that is fun and laughter. So, and if they're, hardworking people with a sense of discipline, they'll say, oh, okay, well, I can do that for, I'm willing to take on every day for 6 weeks. And I'm sitting there going, no, you won't, because you won't do it. I know you won't do it. So I say, look, I am a great believer in the underachievement principle. I know that if I say that, even if you agree that, for instance, you're going to exercise an hour every day, 5 days a week, I know you're not going to do it. You're going to beat yourself up. But if we agree that 3 days a week, you're going to exercise for 5 minutes at a time, with the option to continue if you're enjoying yourself, that not only will you do it, so hooray, but you're also training yourself to have trust in yourself. You're patting yourself on the back. Okay, I did those 5 minutes. Yay! I don't have to do this now for another 2 days. Perfect. Right? Same thing with having fun. If you are not accustomed to having fun, and obviously you're not, or I wouldn't be assigning you this particular homework, right? Do it in manageable chunks. As my mentor, Aoife, says, make it snackable.
Yes. Yes. It was, and when I was working as an occupational therapist, I was a preceptor. I took on students.
Yeah.
Loved every minute. I learned more from them than they learned from me. But they learned
It's
a
a
lot.
mutual thing. Yeah.
And the students would come in going, you want me to read this book?
Well, yeah.
You want me to, wait a minute. I'm done with college. I'm done with school.
How
Yeah.
very frustrating for you.
Oh, it was like, little do you know that when you go into the medical profession, you are never done learning.
No. No. No.
When I retired, I took 800 pounds of books, that was my professional library, to my ex-employer, and I said, here, give these to the OTs, give these to the occupational therapists. And it was an extensive professional library, very extensive.
Mm-hmm.
And the students, they would come in going, I don't want to read anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Then I would ask them, tell me about this patient that you're going to go see. What's going on with the patient? I don't know. If you don't know what's going on with the patient, then how are you going to be able to work with the patient? What types of conditions do they have? Well, they have this one, and I'm not sure what it is. Well,
Okay, but getting back to our procrastination,
but see, that's
they don't understand the reasoning.
the procrastination is because they don't understand the reasoning.
Yeah.
The resistance is because they don't see how it's going to help them help their patient.
And there's something underlying that. And the reason I say that is because, yes, there's a mental disconnect, but there's almost certainly a belief disconnect in there somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's going to be belief either about the person, or it's going to be a belief about the person they're trying to help,
Or a belief about them.
That's what I'm saying. It's either in your case, the OT,
Yeah.
or the patient,
Right.
or the profession,
Mhm.
or life in general. Yeah.
Right.
So let me just listen to that for a minute, because I'm obviously trying to say something to me, and I haven't figured out what it is.
Well, the interesting thing about procrastination is that so much of it deals with understanding what the task entails. And some of it is just not believing in
Yes.
yourself
Yes.
and not believing in your skill set and not believing in how to resolve your questions.
And sometimes just not knowing what the actual problem is. And I'm not talking
Exactly.
about that
Yeah.
the patient has a
Right.
problem. We can see what that is. I was explaining to Michael something the other day. That's my best friend too, and I have dinner with him most nights. And I don't even remember now what it was that I was saying to him, but I finally thought, oh, wait a minute, I'm not explaining this well enough. I said, look, the reason I'm asking you to do this is because I have set up part of my household system to this end. And it wasn't about being tied. I wish I could remember the exact situation now, because we resolved it. So I just let it go, But it wasn't about general tidiness. My level of tidiness is significantly higher than his at the best of times. Oh, I remember what it is. You see this curtain I have behind me?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, you can get at it from either side, but I prefer for people to get at it from this side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have set up my glassware behind the curtain. Don't look behind the curtain. It's okay. Behind the curtain in such a way that the glasses that I use the most often are on this side.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones he uses the most often are on this side. And finally I said, Michael, the reason I want you to open it from this side is because it's held with one single drawing pin at the top of that side. And if you pull too hard on that side, the drawing pin is going to go flying. Chances are I'm not going to find it again. Then I have to go find another drawing pin and reset it. So there is an actual reason. And
Yeah.
I would like you to understand that, so you are more likely to remember it and respect it. It's not that the reason itself is, it's not that my way of doing things is paramount, although it is my household. So, hey, it's not that I am the only one who's right. It's not that there's only one right way to do this. It's that this is what makes sense for our end result.
Well,
and
and
for them to understand that.
The outcome, yeah.
Yeah. So that means that, and this is where it gets back to your students, and mine too, come to that. So, so what I try and make clear to my students when I see a procrastination situation is that it's not that they're wrong, because that's going to give them an additional stick to beat themselves up with.
Mm-hmm.
It's that there's simply something that their awareness
They're
needs.
missing some piece of information.
Yeah. So their understanding, their wisdom, their awareness, which this is the year of wisdom and understanding. So let's amp that up a little bit. That I am confident that once their awareness has been brought into alignment, they will remember whatever it is and do it more cheerfully. Once they realize that it's not I know I'm sounding a little bit clumsy and hesitant here. I'm just tracking something in the field. If I don't explain it, which is my job, if I don't explain it in a way that they can hear it, and if I'm not communicating it correctly,
Mm-hmm.
further down the road, it's going to add to their feeling of, I don't know enough, I don't understand enough, I'm not getting this. Whatever that less than energy is, they're going to have more of it. Whereas what I want at the end of the day is for them to say, oh, right. Oh, yeah. What was that Dr. Keir said? Oh, right. And I'm going to put in a joke here.
Okay. Go for it.
So we often have jokes in what we do. I'm saying in the Geotram world, because it brings the energy of everybody listening up to a place where they can hear.
To a higher level.
Okay. Yeah. So the guy who decides he wants to go skydiving. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he's nervous because it's the first time he's done this. And he takes the training and he's listening attentively to the instructor, and he's up in the airplane and he says, remind me. He says, okay. The instructor says, okay, calm, breathe. You're going to jump out of the plane. You're going to count 10 seconds. Then you're going to pull the blue handle. That's your main chute. And if that doesn't work, you're going to wait another 10 seconds. Then you're going to pull the red handle. That's your emergency chute. He says, okay, 10 seconds, blue handle. 10 seconds, red handle. What happens if neither one works? Fear and doubt. Says, then you say, Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. And he goes, okay. So he duly jumps out of the airplane. He said, what'd he say? Okay, 10 seconds, blue handle. Didn't work. What'd he say? Red handle. Didn't work. What'd he say? Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. This giant hand appears and lowers him to the ground. And he says, oh, thank God. And the hand goes, whack! There are reasons. Okay, getting back to our topic.
Yes.
Sorry, couldn't resist.
We're procrastinating about procrastination.
Yeah, well, you gotta do what you're good at. Okay, so yeah, the human race as a whole has a belief or has a disease. The disease is called belief in not enough. This is what leads to greed and avarice and chaos and all those lovely things. Okay?
Yes.
So I think you're absolutely right when you, as I am hearing what you're saying, is that the core of procrastination is some kind of belief in not enough. So if we can track that down, we can clear that pretty easily. Now, we can do that with Geotran, obviously, but I believe we can probably do that really, really, really well with the hypnotherapy too.
We can.
Mm-hmm. You want to describe that process or what you are likely to use for that?
Well, it's going to be a 3-step process.
Okay.
The first part is looking at self-confidence and building self-confidence.
Of course, we can just fix that in the trice with Geotrans. Yeah.
It takes us a couple of sessions.
Guys, you're so slow.
2 hours. Then the second process is self-esteem.
Okay. Which are obviously very connected, self-confidence, self-esteem.
They're connected, but they're very different and they're very separate.
Okay.
And so we can work with that. And then the third is just not enough. I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or we go into the subconscious and we ask the subconscious, why? Why are you doing this?
No, we ask the subconscious what, not why. We do not ask why questions, which is a whole different. Hey, there's a topic of conversation. But
well,
carry on.
You may ask what questions. In my training, we looked at what, who, and why. And so in part of what I do is ask why. I do ask the subconscious why, and it will give an answer. It may not be the answer that we want.
We get to be surprised.
Yes. And that's why we ask. And once we find out the reason, then we work with that reason. And it may be something totally separate, maybe something totally surprising. It may be a result from a trauma from an earlier part of life.
That's right.
Or maybe there might be a fear or a phobia there that is involved in the task.
And all of those are handleable.
They are all handleable. And we work with that. And with the fear, we desensitize. And with phobias, fears and phobias are very different, but they're also very similar.
Yeah.
A fear is something that we can look back at a specific event that occurred. A phobia, we're unable to identify the specific event. And it's usually an entanglement of a variety of issues.
That's interesting. I was not aware of that distinction. Thank you.
And so we use very different techniques for fears and phobias.
Okay.
The phobia technique is a very specific technique.
Okay.
And the fear technique, it's desensitization.
I am going to put phobias on our list to discuss on another program.
I think that would be good to talk about because people have, and phobias are irrational.
Oh, yeah.
They're unreasonable. We don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't know why.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that could lead to procrastination.
I can absolutely see that.
So if someone has some phobia about some aspect of that task, then it could lead to procrastination. For instance, if you're a newscaster and you have a fear of heights and you are asked to go and interview someone on the top of Eiffel Tower,
you would send me instead because I speak French.
Yeah. I would find every reason why I couldn't get up there. The elevators weren't working.
I must admit,
gave out.
I must admit, my picture was more sort of if you have a spider phobia, you're never going to clean out your store cupboard because there might obviously be spiders in there, and the fact that you are much bigger than they are is, of course, immaterial.
Oh, I had a roommate in college that had a phobia of spiders.
Yeah,
and would just go bonkers, screaming bonkers if he saw a spider. And it'd be like, what is going on with you? A spider? Really? But for them, it was a big deal.
You know
Go
Peter
ahead.
Jackson, who is the director of the Lord of the Rings film? Yeah. He apparently has quite a severe spider phobia. And you will recall in the third I think it's in the third one, where he's going over the mountains, and there's Shelob, which is this giant spider.
Yes.
And apparently he could hardly stand to look at the props department sort of rendition of the spider, because even though he knew it was not an actual spider, of course, it was like, okay, let's see whether we can spook our director today. That was their measure of whether they were getting spideriness enough.
All that and snakes.
Yeah, people have phobias, absolutely. But let's keep our focus, challenging though it is, on procrastination specifically. Is there anything else that you would like to share about how you would deal with that in a hypnotherapy context specifically, or anything else about the reasons behind that you have found?
What we look at is really, we do a deep dive as to the reason. We analyze. I guess that's what you look at, because the more you learn about the event of procrastination and what's behind it, it gives you more of the reason and the techniques to eliminate it.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes longer than 3 or 4 sessions. Sometimes it could take 4 or 5.
Especially if they keep putting it off until next year.
Yeah, especially if they keep canceling.
Which is not unknown, I have to tell you.
And that happens.
As we're thinking about it, as we're talking about it, I have a thought or concept coming up about this. A lot of the work that I do in Geotran, the core of the work I do in Geotran is to get people back to being you, not this accretion of other people's expectations and past whatnots and future fears and all that good stuff. And it seems to me that so getting you back to being you and getting you back to being in the now, right? Now, I just had this little brainwave about the procrastination part. Procrastination is automatically taking you out of the now. Think about it. It's automatic. You've got a projection into the future, because you're doing whatever you're doing or not doing now in terms of its future consequences or lack thereof. And the cause of it, as you're saying very correctly, is almost certainly coming out of the past somewhere. So I'm just wondering if, just as a quick tip to the people watching who would like to have their procrastination dealt with, I'm just wondering if just getting you back into the now would be at least a Band-Aid.
It would help to stay into the now and stay focused into the now.
Yeah.
And stay true to yourself and ask yourself the question, why am I putting this off?
Yeah. So what I'm looking at just for this minute, I absolutely agree with what you're saying in an overall sense, that when we ask those questions, we are automatically taking it up into the soul level, or automatically taking up pretty much up into the mental level. What I'm suggesting is, just as a thought, is if we can get you back into the now. In the now, those fears and expectations are not operating, because whatever it is not happening now. Yeah. So whatever the fears come from, not operating now. The not enough, not operating now. The consequences, or advantageous or otherwise, that are in the future, not happening right in the now. So let me show you a couple of techniques for getting back in the now. And let's get some feedback on this and see whether it helps. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Mind gems. These are 12 little exercises. The absolutely first thing we teach you in Geotran. So anybody wants to learn them, hello, send me a message on Facebook, or my sorry, brain just went out. Brain back in. Good. Okay. My email is drkieradept, all is one word, at gmail.com. And of course, Dr. Kevin is kevinrichardsontherapy@gmail.com. But for the Geotran, talk to me. Okay, mind gym. One hand on top of the head. See the fingertips? Flat of the fingers, right there on your central part, if you have a central part. Yeah, the sort of soft bit of the baby's head. Yeah, right, more towards the center. That's right. Yeah. And 10, 12 seconds. Very simple. This brings you back into the now. Woo! Okay, I just felt the energy shift, so we do it with the other hand. So you're all balanced. We are in the now, not only to the right, not only to the left, but both. Ooh, that's really good. So just check in with yourself. Does this now help you be more inclined to doing whatever the heck it was that you've been putting off, right? Now, obviously, we're in the middle of a television taping, and unless we've got somebody really on the ball behind the scenes, I mean, as well as our lovely producer, Angie B. Hello, Angie. Then we're probably not going to get a response on this immediately. But
Right.
I'm saying to anybody listening, try this out. Be in the now. Now, here's another way of being in the now. Instead of going to that mental space, pick up the nearest object that catches your eye. Here is my dear little mug that says chocolate makes the world go round with a hippo in the middle. And really look at it. Really look at it. Be present with it. Feel how it feels. I mean, obviously it's a mug. You can do anything. You can do this with any object. Right? I'm just doing it with mug because that's what caught my eye right minute. So I'm feeling it in my hands. I experience the weight of it. I'm looking at the color of it. I'm giggling at Sandra Boynton, who is the artist. You know, this is bringing me back into the now because the sensory world is in the now. The past and the future is not in the now. The past and the future is not in the sensory world. The past and the future is in your psychology. It's in what you think, feel, believe, and desire. Mm-hmm. So we're attempting to get you grounded in the sensory world, at least for a minute. And then say, oh, what's that thing? Next thing on my list? Right. And that's where your discipline comes in. Mm-hmm. Oh, do we all hate the word discipline? It's right up there with obedience. Ah! Yeah. Okay. So in my world, when we come across a block that we don't have the time to untangle all the bits and pieces of how it got there and what's keeping it in place and whether it's from us or from somebody else, we go to positive points. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I would use the ones on my leg. Again, you can find the graphics for these in my groups on Facebook. So that's the Lighten Up Coaching group or Geotran Global group. Super easy. You go right hand clockwise on the outside of the left leg from the knee downwards. 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 2, 3, 5. This takes the stress out. Yeah. So your procrastination. I absolutely agree that procrastination is very, very often about lack of self-worth, lack of self-esteem, lack of self-confidence, but it's also about stress. Mm-hmm. Right? So, if you're not stressed before you're procrastinating, you're certainly stressed afterwards.
Yes.
So you're projecting, okay, I got to do such and such. Oh, dang, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that. Stress. 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5. No stress. You look at your list, you go, oh, yeah, the next thing is that. Okay. Because you are no longer unloading all of this. I'm a bad person. I can't get this together. I have no discipline. Whatever you're telling yourself about yourself, you're no longer attaching that to going down your list. You're either doing it or you're not doing it. And you're not in a place of judgment either way.
Right.
Does this make sense what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Good, because I'm making it up as I go along. Pretty cool, huh?
Well, on second hand,
Well, I'm in the now, so I'm listening in the now, and I'm getting this information in the now, and I'm conveying it to you in the now, so I don't have to put off telling you this stuff.
so you're not procrastinating.
I'm not procrastinating. And I actually have a list that I get to look at and complete today before I go to France on Wednesday, which I have been putting off. So isn't this a great topic of conversation?
It is a. Oh, how can I help my coworker?
Oh, good luck with that, my friend.
Oh,
You
give
can
them my name and my website. Give them
yeah,
my
have them get in
email.
touch with one of us, because you are going to really mess up your working relationship if you try and fix somebody else. Okay.
You know, if you're a peer to the coworker,
Yeah.
you can ask the questions. Is there something I can do to help you with this?
Yeah.
Or is there something that's blocking you from getting this done?
Mm-hmm.
And so those are going to be questions that are exploratory, and that will give you some insight as to their thinking.
And
Go ahead.
maybe an approach that would work also is, you know what? I really know what this feels like. I myself have been known to procrastinate.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I have found helpful.
Yes.
I have found, for me, I have found helpful being in the now.
Right.
I have found helpful, de-stressing. I have found helpful just taking a light look, not to land in it, just, gee, I wonder if, for me, I ended up asking the question, where's this coming from? Yeah, because if it's a belief, if it's an emotion, I can change my mind. I can change my emotions pretty quickly. So what do I want to be feeling when I'm approaching a task that I really don't want to do very much? That's what I have found helpful for me.
Yeah.
So make it not about them.
Yeah, make it about the task.
That too.
Make it about the task. Don't make it about them. Make it about the task. Maybe asking them, what can we do to support getting this done?
Yeah.
What
How
can
can I
we
help?
do? How can
Yeah.
I help?
Yeah.
What can I do to help? How can I help? Is there some aspect of the task that maybe we're not understanding?
Yeah.
Using the words me and my rather than you.
Definitely.
Oh, that drives me nuts. When I'd have a supervisor who was 20 years younger than me telling me, well, you have to do it this way. No, I don't. So,
so there's a pattern there, Dr. Kevin, and we can probably work on that.
I'm not very obedient, and I don't take directions well, and I don't play well with others.
These are not actually virtues, Dr. Kevin.
Oh, darn. I thought those were virtues of a leader.
But and here's the other thing. I mean, of course, we're being silly with each other and just trying to demonstrate something. But seriously, if you can make it into a joke that is not a hurtful joke,
helps.
That's really that's going to lighten the atmosphere. That's going to take away the judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't think of a joke offhand about procrastination, but I'm sure we could, in the right circumstances.
It's maybe there's a certain level of frustration within that coworker.
Yeah.
That needs to be explored.
Or
maybe it has nothing to do with the task.
Right.
Maybe it has everything to do with the coworker or the environment.
Yeah. So sometimes the even better question is not so much how can I help you get this task done, but it could be, I'm noticing you seem to be a bit frustrated today. Is there some way I can help with that?
Yeah.
How would you like to be feeling? How can we create that? Is it time for, is it time for a cup of tea? Hey, look, here's some chocolate I brought in with me. Because as we know, chocolate improves every situation.
As long as you brought the whole bag with you, I'll be happy.
I can't guarantee that, but Hey, and here's another thing. Yeah, here's
And yeah,
out of my bag of things. Okay, here's another thing. I don't know if this is true for all men and women, but I think it is true as a generalization. So, allowing for exceptions, my experience is that men grow by challenge and women grow by praise. Okay. So, if I am working with a male client who is just not, let me give you an example. I actually have an example. It relates specifically to procrastination. Yay me. Okay. So I had this client, and he was living on a boat, and he kept complaining about he had to get the engine replaced. I mean, he had the resources to do this. It wasn't a matter of, I have to go earn some money so that I can. I would have understood that. And finally, I think it was about June, I said to him, I'm really tired of hearing this. By the 1st of September, if you are not on the phone to me and I can hear that boat engine puttering around the harbor, if you have not installed, tested, functional engine by the 1st of September, so I was giving him a decent time frame.
Yeah.
I am fining you $10,000.
Wow.
He said, okay. 31st of August. Because it focused his attention, but it was a challenge. It's like, are you big enough for this?
And that worked for him.
I would not do that with a woman. With a woman, I would say, how are you going to reward yourself for having accomplished whatever this is?
That's fascinating. In the healthcare profession, and I can only speak for myself and those I've worked with, and I've worked with a lot of male nurses.
Sure.
They responded to praise.
Great.
And the female doctors responded to the challenge.
And I actually have a potential reason for that.
And one of the biggest compliments I ever received was from a female supervisor who said, Kevin, I really like you because you think like a woman. So at first I thought, what does that mean? But then when I looked into it, I'm going, wow, what a compliment.
Well, and I worked in architecture for a long time, which is in Britain is even more male dominated than in the US. It's still pretty darn male dominated in the US.
Yeah.
And so one of my there are only a couple of coping mechanisms available, as you know, when you are the opposite gender to whatever the norm is in that particular profession, because your experience was the exact diagonal opposite to mine. So I can either be extra feminine, I can be gender neutral, or I can be one of the boys. Those were pretty much my choices, right?
Yeah.
So if I am in masculine mode, nothing wrong with masculine mode. It's very effective for getting things done. That's where the challenge comes in.
Yeah.
If I'm in feminine mode, it doesn't matter what challenge you throw at me. I'm just going to sit there and look at it and go, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It just doesn't interest me enough.
Years ago.
In that direction.
Years ago, I worked in a rehab clinic where it was 35 female occupational therapists. And at any given moment of that, there was 2 or 3 of them that were pregnant. and in various stages of their pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And at lunchtime, we all sat around the table, the treatment table, and had lunch. And most times it was talking about the pregnancies.
No, of course.
And they were talking about, oh my God, all I have to do is walk into the room with my husband and I'm pregnant. And I just quietly said, I've tried for years to get pregnant and I just can't seem to get pregnant.
See, we bring a little humor into the situation.
They didn't catch it.
Ah!
They were going, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And then one of them said, you can't get pregnant. You're a man. It took you long enough. But again, I took that as a compliment.
No, sure. Yeah, that you're comfortable and they're comfortable with you within that milieu.
And it was a non-threatening situation.
Yeah.
So
when I think about what I just said about men grow by praise,
challenge.
Men grow by challenge, women grow by praise. I think this is why it works this way, specifically with procrastination. Is that if somebody lays a challenge on me and I'm not in that masculine mode, it's like, oh, great, something else I have to prove to somebody.
Right.
So it actually connects back with what we've been talking about all along, which is that self-esteem, self-confidence. I don't want to be in situations where I have to prove anything to anybody anymore.
Right.
Whereas men, my experience, I could be totally wrong. You're a guy, you tell me, but my experience with my male clients, at least, is that they find that invigorating.
Yes.
I get to prove how big a person I am, or how strong I am, or how confident I am, or how accomplished I am, or whatever it is about.
How virile I am, how masculine I am.
How masculine I am. Yeah. And we women kind of end up feeling, really? Do I really have to go in that direction? Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're talking about a nice piece of lingerie, now that's different. Let's have a reward here. Okay, that I can do.
Well, when I was in my corporate position and we were traveling, the females that I was traveling with, they would want to go shopping and they would take me shopping to pick out their outfits.
Interestingly enough, I have done a lot of shopping for men in my life.
And I've done a lot of shopping for women.
Well, there you go. You are just in a unique position because of your fabulous personality.
Yes. Well, I hope so.
My point, and I do have one.
Self-esteem, maybe.
But here's what I'm saying. So if we're looking specifically at this procrastination issue, then and the original question was, well, what do I have this coworker who's procrastinating? Is there some way I can help them? That's just another factor. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Do they respond well to praise? Do they respond well to challenge? If they respond well to challenge, you say, hey, let's make this a game. Let's see how fast each of us can do whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or how completely we can do whatever it is. If it's a woman, it's like, tell you what, we'll do it together and then we'll go have a nice cup of tea. We'll do it together and we'll set up a shopping excursion. Yeah. We'll do it together and here's our reward. Yeah, it's just worth thinking about. Everybody is different. Everybody is unique, but it was a factor that I did not take into account for a long time because I was a woman working in a male environment.
Right.
So it's like it didn't apply to me all the time, if that makes sense. But there are lots of factors, as I think, Kevin, I think you would be, in fact, you were the first to say. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
It's not. It's a very individualized situation. And and as an hypnotherapist, I delve into that with them. I ask them a lot of questions about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of questions around it.
Yeah.
And then based on their answers, then we can come up with an agreement on what needs to be worked on.
Yes. Yeah.
And
All of it is about getting the subconscious on board with the conscious, because the conscious already knows what needs to be done. It's the subconscious going in there and saying, I don't know. I don't think so. No, not right now. Next week.
Sorry, it's not on my agenda for the day.
Okay. And if worse comes to worse, you can buy your lower self, your subconscious, the Sandra Boynton mug.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get she doesn't make them anymore, but you can get one on Poshmark of all places. Often has Boynton vintage Boynton mugs. Look for the one that says Varsity Procrastination Squad. And every time you pick it up, you can say, that's my school, that's my team.
Yeah.
And then you go get on with your to-do list.
And then needing to be determined later.
Yeah, they were having tryouts this week, but they decided then, next week.
Yeah, they couldn't make it. They put it off.
Yeah, well, it's like the National Apathy Society. It's like we were going to have a meeting, but nobody could be bothered to show up.
Yeah.
Bring some humor in, people. It's not the end of the world.
Having a sense of humor in life is so very important. And having a sense of humor about your procrastination helps. Just even recognizing the fact that, I'm putting that off. And why am I putting that off? Oh, because I don't want to do it. Well, guess what?
Doing it anyway.
My excuse now is, since retiring as an OT, I say, I'm retired. I don't have to do anything now. False.
Yeah.
As a clinical hypnotherapist, I got to be right on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm so looking forward to having a virtual assistant, which is the next thing I'm kind of lining up in my business, because then I can put it all off on her.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like,
Yay.
I don't want to do that. Here, can you add this to your list? Oh, good. Just the stuff that, yeah.
Oh, I don't have that fortune.
That's an interesting belief.
It's just even doing the cat boxes, it's like, I guess it's my turn, isn't it? I'll do it after dinner.
I'll tell you, every time that I have actually had any kind of assistant, that has freed up my time to be with my clients, for which I get paid a lot more than my assistant gets paid for saving me time. So, just look at the numbers sometime. Unless, of course, you prefer to put that off for a while.
I think maybe that might be something to put on to the next week's list.
Okay. Virtual assistant. All right. We will discuss this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Procrastination is just an interesting topic.
So
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I've been really interrupting you today. I apologize.
Go ahead.
We've got like a minute and a half, so I'm just going to wrap up. All right.
Okay.
So the main factors that we're seeing are lack of self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, that kind of stuff. So what part of you does not feel worthy of the result, the beneficial result you would get if you just go and do it, whatever it is? If you're a man, set it up like a game, like a challenge. If you're a woman, how are you going to reward yourself? And most of all, get back into the now. Remember I showed you the one hand on top of the head, then the other hand on top of the head, or pick up the nearest object and really pay attention to it for a minute, and then just go to your list. Okay. Mm-hmm. There are ways of dealing with it. It is a challenge a lot of people have. So you can stop beating yourself up and look for the solution rather than focusing on the problem. And that's it from a paradox.
Or a
This-
paradox.
Thanks for watching. See you soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.